I was 20 when I met Jason. We were both in college, figuring out life, chasing dreams, and trying to make sense of who we were. He was charming, one of those guys who could make a room lighter just by walking into it. He wasn't the best-looking man I'd ever met, but there was something magnetic about him. The way he spoke, how he listened, the little jokes he cracked. Everything made it feel like we had something special. We started dating not long after meeting. At first, it was all-consuming. Weekend trips, long phone calls at night, talking about our future as if nothing could ever go wrong. I introduced him to my family pretty quickly. My parents liked him, but it was my sister Camila who really clicked with him. She joked that he was like the brother she never had, and I remember feeling lucky that my family was just as taken with him as I was. Looking back now, I can admit I was naive. I ignored little red flags because I didn't want to believe the person I loved could be capable of anything ugly. He would cancel plans last minute, disappear for entire weekends claiming he was just overwhelmed, and I always found a way to justify it. I wanted to trust him more than I actually did. But back then, I didn't have a reason not to. Jason made me feel seen. He was the first person who really made me believe I was enough. I clung to that feeling, even when things got rocky. When people asked if I saw myself marrying him, I'd say yes without hesitation. That was the kind of hold he had on me. I believed in us completely. And for a while, everything seemed fine, until it wasn't. I was 22 when everything came crashing down. It started with a phone call from a girl I didn't know, claiming she needed to talk to me about Jason. At first, I thought it was a prank or some mistake. But her voice was trembling, and there was something in her tone that made my stomach sink. We met up, and what she told me shattered whatever innocence I had left. Jason had cheated on me. Not just once, multiple times. With people I knew, people I didn't. It was like a web of lies I'd been living in without ever realizing it. The cheating alone was bad enough, but it didn't stop there. He had contracted an STD from one of those encounters, something serious that could affect fertility. He found out during a routine test, and the doctor had told him explicitly that he needed to inform any recent partners. He said nothing. Nothing. I only found out because that same girl he had been with ended up getting tested and tracked down everyone she thought might be affected. That's how I got the call. When I confronted him, he barely reacted. He looked annoyed, like I was making a big deal out of nothing. I remember his exact words. "I didn't think it was necessary. You seemed fine." As if my health, my future, was some minor detail he could just ignore. I stood there, numb, while he tried to minimize everything. There was no apology, no remorse, just excuses. Getting tested myself was one of the most terrifying experiences of my life. The waiting, the not knowing, it was torture. Luckily, I caught it early enough to treat it, but the damage was already done. Not just to my body, but to my trust. He put my fertility, my life, at risk, and didn't even care. That kind of betrayal doesn't just end a relationship, it breaks something fundamental inside you. And from that day forward, I knew there was no coming back. Not from this. Telling my family wasn't easy. I didn't even know how to start. How do you sit the people who love you down and explain that the man they welcomed into their lives not only cheated on you, but risked your health without a second thought? I remember sitting at the kitchen table, hands trembling, trying to stay calm while I told them everything. My mom cried. My dad went silent in that way he does when he's holding back anger. But it was Camilla, my sister, who reacted the strongest. She stood up, paced the room, cursing Jason like I'd never heard her do before. She looked me in the eyes and said, "He's dead to me." In that moment, I felt like I wasn't alone. They all rallied around me. No one blamed me for not seeing the signs. No one minimized what had happened. They listened, they stayed close, and they reminded me that I was loved. Even in the middle of all that pain, I felt protected. Camilla, especially, was relentless in making sure I didn't fall apart. She came over almost every day after work, bringing food, distracting me with movies, talking late into the night. She was the one who convinced me to go out again, to take care of myself, to believe I deserved better. She didn't just support me, she carried me through it. Back then, if you had asked me who in the world would never betray me, I would have said Camilla without hesitation. We weren't just sisters, we were best friends. She hated Jason for what he did. I remember her saying, "Any person who could do something that cruel doesn't get to be part of this family." I held on to that bond, that loyalty. It became a piece of what helped me heal. Because as much as Jason broke me, my family, especially Camilla, put me back together. At least, that's what I believed. It took time, but I moved on. About a year after breaking up with Jason, I met Marcos. It was nothing like before. There were no fireworks at first, no butterflies in my stomach, just calm, comfort. A feeling of safety I didn't even realize I'd been missing. Marcos was patient in a way that made me uncomfortable at first. I kept waiting for the other shoe to drop, for him to lie, to disappear, to show signs of the chaos I had grown used to. But he never did. He showed up, again and again, with kindness, consistency, and genuine care. Slowly, I began to trust again. Not just him, but myself. I learned to listen to my instincts, to set boundaries, and to speak up when something felt off. We got married 2 years after we met. I told him everything about Jason early on. He didn't flinch. He just held my hand and asked what I needed from him to feel safe. When I found out I was pregnant, I cried. Not because I was scared, but because I had feared for so long that I might not be able to have children at all. Jason had stolen that certainty from me. Marcos gave it back. My pregnancy was healthy. Our baby arrived strong and beautiful. And in that hospital room, holding my son for the first time, I felt like I had finally closed the door on the past. I had survived. More than that, I had rebuilt. Jason became a ghost, a name I didn't say, a chapter I didn't revisit, and everyone around me understood that, or so I thought. Because despite everything, despite all the tears and promises and declarations of loyalty, Camilla wasn't done with him. She just waited until I thought it was safe, until I let my guard down. 3 months ago, Camilla showed up at my house with a look on her face I couldn't quite read. It wasn't guilt. It wasn't fear. It was something in between, like she was trying to convince herself that what she was about to say wouldn't break me. She sat on my couch and told me she had reconnected with someone recently. She kept dancing around his name, talking in vague phrases. Someone from the past. Someone I used to know. I felt my stomach knot before she even said it. And when she finally did, I froze. Jason. I didn't say a word. I couldn't. I just stared at her while she explained how they bumped into each other at a mutual friend's party, how they started talking again, how he was different now. "He's changed," she said. "He's not who he used to be." She swore they hadn't done anything yet, that she wanted to talk to me first because she didn't want to lose me. She said that more than once. I don't want to lose you. But the thing is, she already had. In my mind, the second she even considered dating him, just the thought alone, it was like a door slammed shut. I didn't yell. I didn't cry. I didn't argue. I just stood up and walked away from her. I went upstairs, closed my bedroom door, and let silence be my answer. A week later, I found out from my youngest sister that Camilla and Jason were officially together. No hesitation. No space. As if that conversation with me had just been a formality, a box to check before doing what she wanted anyway. In that moment, it all came flooding back. The betrayal, the fear, the lies. But this time, it wasn't Jason who destroyed me. It was my sister. After that day, I didn't speak to Camilla again. Not a word. I didn't call, I didn't text, and I didn't answer when she tried. To me, she had made her choice, and I made mine. I didn't make a scene. I didn't go to the rest of the family and demand they cut her off. I simply removed her from my life. She wasn't invited over anymore. She wasn't welcome to see my baby. Her name became just another word I didn't have time for. It wasn't even out of anger at that point. It was a matter of self-respect. Some boundaries, once crossed, don't get redrawn. Camilla tried to play it off at first. I know she told people I was just processing and that I'd come around. But I wasn't processing. I was done. And deep down, I think she knew that too. Because when she showed up at our parents' house and I was there, she paused in the doorway like she wasn't sure if she should even come in. I didn't say anything to her. I didn't even look her way. She said my name once, soft, hopeful. I turned and started talking to someone else like she wasn't there. She was invisible to me. That day must have shaken her, because not long after, she started trying harder. More texts, more voicemails. Crying in front of our mother, saying she missed me. Telling anyone who would listen that she didn't mean to hurt me, that she was caught between feelings and family. But she wasn't caught. She jumped, eyes open. What hurt more than anything was remembering the night she told me Jason was dead to her, that she'd never forgive what he did to me. How does someone go from that to this? I don't know. But I do know that silence became the only language I had left to speak with her. I made a decision I didn't take lightly. Camilla would not be allowed near my child. Not for visits, not for birthdays, not even for a photo. I didn't want that kind of betrayal anywhere near the life I'd built from the wreckage she helped me survive. When I told my parents, they understood. My mom said, "It's your boundary and we'll respect it." My dad just nodded and asked if I needed help changing the locks. No one tried to guilt me. No one asked me to forgive her. And for that, I was grateful. Camilla, on the other hand, couldn't handle the silence. The more I pulled away, the more desperate she became. She sent me a handwritten letter, pages long, begging for forgiveness, talking about how lost she felt, how much she missed her best friend. She said Jason wasn't the same person he was years ago, that people change, that she didn't choose him over me. She just didn't expect things to move this fast. But that's the thing. She did choose him. Every step of the way, she chose him. And I was supposed to do what? Pretend like the past didn't exist? Smile politely at family gatherings while she held hands with the man who once put my health, my future at risk? No. So I stayed quiet. I kept living. Marcos backed me on every decision. We focused on our son, on our family. We built a bubble she couldn't penetrate. My peace became sacred, and I refused to let her puncture it with apologies that came too late. It wasn't about punishing her. It was about protecting myself and my child. Still, I could tell it was breaking her. She kept showing up at our parents' place, asking about me, trying to find cracks in the wall I had built. But there were none. I didn't leave any openings. Not for her, not anymore. Camilla didn't stop trying. She messaged me on every platform, texts, emails, DMs. She left voicemails that started calm and ended in sobs. Each one was some version of the same message. Please talk to me. I miss you. I'm sorry. At one point, she sent me a video. It was her, holding a stuffed animal she once gave me when we were kids. She was crying, saying, "I never meant for any of this to happen. I just didn't expect to feel the way I did when I saw him again. I don't know how to undo this." I watched the first 30 seconds, then I deleted it. The last straw came when she showed up at my house. I wasn't expecting anyone, and when I opened the door and saw her standing there, eyes red and shoulders trembling, I almost closed it in her face. But she pushed through. She stepped inside and begged me, literally begged me, to say something. Anything. She said she would leave Jason, that she didn't want to lose me, that no man was worth her sister. She knelt on my floor, holding my hand like a child, crying so hard she could barely breathe. I stood there frozen. unsure if I felt pity, rage, or nothing at all. Eventually, I pulled my hand away. I told her she should go. She asked if we could talk again after she ended things with Jason. She was shaking, desperate, but it was too late, because I wasn't going to let her rewrite what already happened. The damage was done the moment she let his name live in her mouth as something other than filth. And I think she knew, even then, that she was too far gone to reach me. She walked out quietly, and I stood in the hallway, still, silent, wondering if that would be the last time I ever saw her. She came back one more time. Not with tears this time, not with apologies, but with a final plea. She stood on my porch, looking like a shadow of herself, and said she'd left him. That she did it for me. That she hoped we could finally talk. Start over. I didn't invite her in. I looked at her, really looked at her, and I said exactly what I had been holding in for months. You lost me the second you even thought about dating him. She blinked, stunned, like I had slapped her. I'm not talking about when you made it official. I'm not talking about when you slept with him or when you introduced him to people. I mean the moment, the exact second, his name crossed your mind as someone you could possibly be with, knowing everything he did to me. That's when it ended. She tried to speak, but I didn't let her. I don't care if you left him. I don't care if he changed. The moment you entertained that idea, you showed me who you really are, and I'm done pretending that person is someone I can love the same way. Her mouth trembled, but she didn't cry. Not then. I shut the door, and just like that, it was over. There was no screaming, no dramatic scene, no second thoughts. Just a sentence. A truth I had carried like a stone in my chest finally placed at her feet. Since that day, she hasn't come back. My parents said she's heartbroken, that she barely talks to anyone, that she's been asking for help but refuses to explain what really happened between us to anyone outside the family. But I know what happened. She crossed a line I can't uncross. And now, I'm not sure there's any way back. It's been weeks now, maybe months. Time blurs when you're trying to forget someone who used to be part of your everyday. Camila hasn't reached out again, not directly. But my youngest sister, Laura, told me she's been trying to convince the rest of the family to confront me. She wants them to talk some sense into me, to force a reconciliation. No one has. Not because they don't care, but because deep down, they agree with me. At least, that's what they say. Laura told me something that stuck, though. She said, I think Camilla really is hurting. I think she regrets it, but she still made her choice. I nodded when she said it. But I haven't stopped thinking about it since. Because that's the part that won't leave me alone. I made a decision I believe in. I set a boundary and enforced it, even when it hurt. I did what I had to do to protect my peace, my family, my child. And yet, there's a tiny voice inside me that wonders if I was too harsh, if I should have given her a chance to make it right before cutting her off completely. If maybe, just maybe, people can change. And not just Jason, but her. But then I remember what it felt like to sit in that doctor's office, to wait for test results, to wonder if I'd be able to have children, to realize someone who claimed to love me played roulette with my body. And I remember how she knew that story, every part of it. And still, she saw him and thought, maybe. So here I am. I've lost a sister. I've held my ground. I've chosen silence over betrayal. But I can't lie and say the doubt isn't there. So I need to ask, am I the asshole for telling my sister she lost me the moment she even considered dating the man who betrayed me like that?